Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. I want to introduce you again to someone I interviewed about a year ago about a book that she's written that I think is really quite interesting. Her name is Mona Andrei. She is an author, a blogger, a columnist, a communication specialist, and a brand content and engagement strategist. And she's written a fascinating book about raising children as a single mom, and it's called Superwoman. What's the subtitle to Superwoman?
A funny and reflective look at single motherhood.
A funny and reflective look at single motherhood. And what we wanted to talk about tonight was a little bit different. We're going to talk undoubtedly a little bit about the book, but we're also going to talk a little bit about finding your passion and finding your passion maybe a little bit later in life. Mona, you reached out to me and said that you thought that this would be an interesting topic because you found your passion and you found your passion later in life. Tell me a little bit about why you think it's so important.
Well, we're also consumed with the responsibilities and everything that we have to do. And oftentimes people just forget about what they enjoy doing. And then later in life, what happens is we retire and then we're just kind of, we lose purpose, I guess. We lose passion, we lose purpose. We're just gardening or babysitting the grandchildren, whatever. But we have to always keep in mind that we are, there's so much potential for us at any age.
So your line was that you're never too old to follow your passion. And so tell me, your one example that you used is that you decided to start dancing a couple years ago. Tell me about that.
So I've always loved hip hop dancing. I've always loved dancing in general. And 3 or 4 years ago, I think 4 years ago, I decided to take a summer hip hop class, beginner at a school called Break City in Kirkland here. And I fell in love with it. And then I was asked if I wanted to join the team, heart and soul. And I did. And then COVID hit. So we were practicing this choreo for the competition season. And the COVID hit. So everything was put on stop. We continued practicing online. Thank God for Zoom and Skype and all those things. And then this year competitions opened up again and we participated in 3 competitions and we came in first.
You came in first.
In all 3.
Congratulations.
So yeah, and our category is 35 and up. So I don't care. I'm 57 and a half and still rocking it.
Still rocking it. And so why was it so important for you to do dance all over again?
Just because I love it, and I don't know, just the team aspect of it is very important too. I sound like I'm going through puberty again with my voice, but the team aspect, getting together and exercising and moving and learning choreos, it's almost like learning, practicing something in your head, I think is all important to the whole ageism thing, which is, I'm not even sure what that means at this point.
Well, I'll tell you a little story if I could. So my daughter was in a dance studio close to where I live, and they ended up having a dad's dance. And it was really interesting because what they did is they invited all the dads to dad's dance. And, not all of the dads joined, but a bunch of us did. And then actually after a while, more and more joined, and we would get together. I think it was on a Wednesday or Thursday night after all the young ladies and guys were finished with their dance classes. So probably 9:30, 10 o'clock. And we'd warm up. And then after about 15, 20 minutes of the warm up, you realize, what you were doing? You were doing like a aerobics class. Like you were like doing a lot of fitness. It was really kind of fun. And then you would learn the choreography, and the choreography was really kind of interesting. And I remember one year we did it to Sexy Back. And so it was really quite funny. Justin Timberlake, Bring Sexy Back, I think it was called. And it was fun. And then afterwards, we'd sit down and we'd have a beer together, and the dads got to know each other, such that when you went to competitions, you end up having this camaraderie with the other dads that you wouldn't have had if you hadn't had that opportunity to meet. But then the best was we'd all get dressed up in costumes and we'd get up on stage in the competitions and we'd compete. And the girls, the kids, the moms, everyone else would go wild as these dads with pot bellies and whatever else would get up on stage and start dancing. And you know what? It was an incredible amount of fun. And you felt like a teenager again.
Yep.
And it was great from a fitness standpoint. It was great from a camaraderie standpoint. It was great from a fun standpoint. And then the dance, the owner of the studio stopped doing it.
Oh no.
And several of us came and said, it's not as much fun anymore. We actually like that. We all complained about it. We all said we didn't want to do it. We
Right.
needed our daughters to convince us to get up and do it. But we actually really liked it. It was a lot of fun. So there's
Awesome.
something about doing those things that you did when you were a kid and not forgetting that you really enjoyed them. They were a lot of fun.
Yep. Absolutely. And music is so universal. It's universal in terms of, you know, connecting with other people, but it's also universal across the, I guess, milestone aging, right? Like the milestone of all our ages. It just stays with us.
So are you going to keep doing it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm taking classes this summer. Our team took a break this summer. I can't wait to see what our coaches come up with, because our choreo was as they say in dance, it was dope. That was me trying to look cool.
What do you mean it was dope?
It was dope. Like, it was so cool. The whole story of our choreo was, we're at a prom dance and we're doing our thing, and all of a sudden the music gets weird. And we're like, what's going on? What's going on? And zombies come on. So zombies come on and they're chasing the prom queen, and some of us get turned. So part of us are down on the ground, and so we had makeup and costume changes on stage. So we had black makeup behind our ears, heavy on the lipstick. So while we're down, we're smearing our lipstick, we're taking some of this black and we're smearing it here. We're undoing our dresses. We have this fantastic member of our team her name is Barbara. She made our prom dresses so that we can, rip it up, and now we turn around and we're zombies. So now we have a new choreo. So it was to 3 songs. So now we have a new choreo where some of us are zombies, and then the last song, we're all zombies. And then we just all go after the prom queen.
And what were the 3 songs?
You know what? Now your Funk Soul Brother was the first one. I'd have to look it up. Now it's, even if I try to do the choreo now, after so much practicing, it would take me a few songs to get back into it, which is odd, right? Well, also I've been learning new choreos, so my mind has been on that.
And is it going to go beyond hip hop, or are you going to stay with just the hip hop?
Oh, I love the hip hop. And the funny thing too is that my son, who's a very tall person, he's 24, he came to the year-end show and he was so inspired, and he's Mr. Geek, like he's Mr. Computer, whatever. He decided to take a hip hop dance with me, his mom, and he's taking a break dancing class.
Awesome. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to show you a video of my daughter and I doing
absolutely
a French, what I call the French twist, which was a jive dance that I used to love to do and learned when I was a teenager, and loved to share with my daughter and different people at different times. Anyway, we're going to take a break, and we'll be back in just 2 minutes with Mona Andrei, who's written an incredibly interesting book. We're going to talk a little bit about the book, and wanted to inspire us all to remember to find our passion no matter what age we are. Stay with us, everybody. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. I'm chatting tonight with Mona Andrei, and she is a author of a really fascinating book about being a single mom and raising children. It's an interesting story about how she got into this book, because it came, I think, from some humorous articles that you were, or blogs that you were writing, that got picked up, and someone persuaded you to turn these blogs into a book. And it's called, remind me of the subtitle, Superwoman.
A funny and reflective look at single motherhood.
A funny and reflective look at single motherhood. And if people are interested in the book, how would they get it? Is it available on online?
Yep, it's available wherever books are sold, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. It's also Indigo, and in select Indigo locations in store.
Excellent. And you were telling me that it got started by you were just sitting down doing some humorous blogs.
Yes. So I have a blog called moxiedude.com. It's an award-winning whatever. humor blog, but I don't only write humor, but it's mostly humor. So the tagline is life updates gone wrong or right. I'm undecided. And yes, so I was talking about parenting and sometimes going back, talking about my life as a single mom. And yes, I got picked up that way. And for the book, I also interviewed other single moms. So it's my story, but it's also other single mom stories who were brave enough to share their life experiences with me, from dating to, juggling career and parenting as a single mom, to dealing with difficult exes and their girlfriends and stuff like that.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about parenting as a single mom.
Well, it's a challenge. It's exhausting. We take so much for granted, I think, as humans in general. And then all of a sudden we decide to have a family. This is my story anyways. Decide to have a family with someone, realize that he's not as committed to, our family as I was. And a funny story is when he found out that the book was coming out, he was concerned. And this is okay. So I'll tell you this part first. So he was concerned that I had written this book about single parenting, and he reached out to my eldest daughter. Is your mom gonna talk bad about me? And so I told her to reassure him it's not a man bashing book at all. But I said,
That's a big but.
Yeah, well, if he was so concerned, perhaps he could have helped, when we needed him. Anne Lamott has a really good quote: if you had wanted me to write warmly about you, you should have behaved better, which I think is so applicable here.
And then you said something about exes and their girlfriends. Tell us that story.
So one of the ladies that I interviewed, so she had or has a child that is just progressively had, I think it was some kind of an eye infection or something. I forget how it started, but she was legally blind, and her ex's girlfriend decided that she knew better. And so the mother had to be very diplomatic and deal with, trying to find the right care for her daughter, trying to get her ex-husband involved, and then meanwhile dealing with the ex-husband's girlfriend, who thinks that she is the mother or whatever. She knows better, and no, she shouldn't be on these vitamins. And it was just a mess, but she handled it, I think, very diplomatically and very well.
So girlfriends that want to become very involved stepmoms, effectively.
Yes, and there's a way to do it. I mean, I have my father's remarried, and his wife has always been a huge part of my life, and she's awesome. Her and my mom, there's no animosity in terms of parenting, or there's never been in that regard. So yeah, there's a way to do it, to be involved, but don't poo-poo the mom at the same time, right?
And then you said also about dating. So what is it? What is the challenger story about dating as a single mom?
Oh my God, there's so many stories there. The lady that I spoke with on that, she went through so many frogs, I guess, before she finally did find someone. So she finally found her prince, but she had stories where, he would, where the boyfriend would be over, and he would hide bottles of booze in her closet, and
What?
she only realized that after. Oh my God, the stories that this lady went through were incredible.
So you've obviously written this from the female standpoint. Don't single guys have a challenge too?
Absolutely. And again, so it's not a man bashing book at all. And most of the book is me laughing at myself, or talking about one of the stories that I share in the book is about how one afternoon my kids were, they were young, and they were fighting and driving me crazy. And we lived in an apartment, and it was raining, and I didn't have the money to take them to a movie or do something. So I told them, go get dressed, I have a surprise for you. But I had no idea what I was going to do. So we're sitting on the bus. At the time I didn't have a car, and they're like, all the kids are all about anticipation, right? So I don't know what I'm going to do with them. And then I had an idea. I would take them to the St. Joseph's Oratory here on the mountain in Montreal. So make up this story about, the saving the castle and blah, blah, blah. But when we get there, it's boring for them, because everybody's like looking at us because they're asking questions and talking. So I take them outside, And we ended up slaying dragons in the rain, like just pretend dragons and, with our swords. And at the time I felt guilt, I felt regret, I felt all these things that I couldn't take them to a movie. And we still talk about that day to this day. Like, just the memory comes from here, not from, watching a movie. I guess we created that memory, which is special.
So you wrote this blog. Obviously, some of it was real life experiences, but then you also interviewed other people, and it was very humorous. And then you've now put it all together and written a book that's a humorous book. Where does your humor come from? Have you always been funny? Have you always been humorous? Or is this something that you found later in life as well?
Oh my God, if you were to hang out with my family, my whole family is funny. My whole family, like from my dad to my cousins out in Saskatchewan. My grandmother, actually, she's passed away now, but she was funny until she passed away at 98. She still had all her marbles. I think having a sense of humor is just in our DNA.
And so, did you ever write before you started the blog?
Oh yes, I've been writing since forever. My mother has a story where I wasn't doing well in math, and my math teacher called her to say that I was failing because I wasn't paying attention and whatever. And my mom said, Mona's a writer. Mona doesn't need math. So I was like, oh, I was, how old was I at the time? I think I was about 13 at the time.
So what else did you write?
Oh my God, I've been writing stories forever. I'm working on a book now, How to Survive Life with Teenagers. I'm mostly a memoir writer. I'm also writing a story about a serial killer, but just a disclaimer, that one is not a memoir. It's just a little bit of a psychological thriller.
So this is a fiction book?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Fantastic. And do you have secrets on how to write? Do you like get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and write for 2 hours or something like that?
I do. I actually really do. If you check
really?
out, yeah, if you go on Twitter, hashtag 5 a.m. Writers Club, you'll see me on there at 5 a.m. We all check in and we're like a little support group. Absolutely. Absolutely. People say, only write when you are inspired. No, you have to write all the time. And when people get writer's block, I think the biggest tip that I can share is that if you're suffering from writer's block, it's because you do not have a clear vision of what you want to write about or what you want to say. That's where that stems from.
And so how do you find that clear vision?
Read a lot. Really, really, really I'm not going to say outline, but just know what's the message. And the message could be as simple as, it doesn't have to be like a learning life experience lesson. It could just be anything. I want to talk about that funny thing that happened when I went to the store the other day. And if you have that, as opposed to what am I going to write about? I want to talk about going to the store, but what is the point of the story? And also always keep your readers in mind. You write for you, but write for your readers. You want to be infotaining.
So many people get stuck in life, mortgage, career, kids, etc. And so your overriding desire to chat with me today was about finding your passion and finding your passion no matter what age you are. You've found dance, you've found writing, you've successfully published a book, you do a blog. What was the secret to that? Is it your grandmother that stayed humorous until she was in her 90s? Like, where does so many people don't find their passion and don't find time to write books or go on to do dances and stuff like that? How do you do that and escape sort of the drudgery of everyday life?
You always have to. So I have this belief that the saddest thing in the world is forgotten potential. And I actually lived it. So when my kids were little, I was in survival mode. All I worried about was, taking care of my kids, listening to the laundry that's screaming at me, paying the bills. And I really did forget who I was. So for years. And then I realized that I needed something for me. Then as soon as I started to apply that, I felt less overwhelmed. I found more joy. Writing lights me up, so does dancing. So if you can find, you don't have to be, have the goal to be a professional, anything, just do things for you. It could be painting, it could be gardening, it could be baking. If something lights you up, it's because it's your calling. It's part of your calling. And if you don't do it, you're not only depriving yourself, you're depriving the world of whatever it is. So if it's baking, oh my God, you're giving somebody the gift of these wonderful muffins or cupcakes or whatever it is. It's important.
The saddest thing in the world is forgotten potential.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I've heard comparable lines from a lot of former wives. Is there something about marriage? Is there something about partnership with another person where you end up, maybe it's kids, that you end up losing your potential? You end up losing your memory of what your dream was?
You could, absolutely, you could. Actually, I was interviewed recently and they were talking, the question was around, writing and single parenting versus writing and being married. And when you're miserable, you don't have the time, the energy, or even the inclination to do anything, right? So, but if you're happily married, I think, and you're with a supportive partner, I don't think that it's a give or take. I don't think you have to sacrifice one for the other. You have to be in a good state of mind, right?
And for you, it was leaving the marriage before you were in that good state of mind?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes. I was not happy. I was, yeah. I flourished after that.
You flourished.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, congratulations. What would your ex-husband say about you flourishing after the marriage?
He'd probably use words that I can't say on here right now. It's like, oh, well, sucks to be you. Sorry.
We're chatting with Mona Andrei about finding your passion in life, no matter what the age, and also about the book that she's written about being a superwoman as a single mom raising children. We're going to take a break for some messages and be back in just 2 minutes with Mona Andrea. Stay with us, everybody. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. I'm having a enjoyable time tonight chatting with Mona Andrea from Montreal, who is an author of a book about single parenting, single motherhood, actually, called Superwoman, a funny and reflective look at a single motherhood. Available wherever good books are sold, on Amazon and at bookstores and things like that. Her book is on a what was it, a 30 stop tour this summer, or about to launch on a...
Actually, it's going on book tour, 23 stops. It starts next week. It starts on Monday, actually.
I'm gonna have to go and get a signed version somewhere and read it, because it sounds like it's got some great stories. You were gonna read a section from one of the chapters that talked about how to move on, and you were mentioning that you've got a speech about part of it, and it's the 3 C's or something like that. Tell us a little bit about that, if you could. Yes. And maybe, if you want, read us something from the chapter.
Okay, so here's the book. Chapter 6 is called From Where You Are to Where You Want to Be, with the 3 C's. So what happened to me was, so I was miserable in my relationship. I decided to end that, and then I was scared because all of a sudden you're my mom would say, putting on your makeup, it's your war paint, and you're going into life, going into work, and just life is challenging.
Your war paint, really?
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, so what happened was I realized a whole bunch of things. So the 3 C's. So I realized I was scared. I realized that I needed courage. I was doubtful, like I had no confidence in myself. I realized that I needed confidence, and I was dissatisfied. So I realized that I needed to make a commitment to myself and a commitment to get more out of my life, more out of my experiences. So those are the 3 C's that I figured out somehow, that I needed to just to move on, to get out of my, I'm going to call it, comfort zone of feeling scared and doubtful and, not having a real direction in my life. So that's what brought me onto the right path, we'll say.
Fantastic. Can you read us a section by any chance?
Okay. Okay. So actually in the book, I refer to my ex as Mr. What Was I Thinking? Because again, it's not a man bashing book.
Mr. What was I thinking? Did you get married young?
Yeah, we met. I was 19 when we met.
Mr. What was I thinking? Oh my gosh.
Okay, so I guess I can read this. So I just told you about the 3 C's. So that very day, so the day that I figured that out, I realized that these 3 things, courage, confidence, and commitment, were all things that I had control over. How, after what I had just gone through with Mr. What Was I Thinking, the loss of control, the whirlwind of always living in lack and deprivation, leaving him took courage, it took confidence, and it took a commitment to myself for a better life. This was a good lesson in taking back control, and I knew I was on the right path and that I could be okay. My tools, my power was in these 3 C's: courage, confidence, and commitment.
So I should probably share with you that I'm trying to finish a PhD, and I probably have writer's block, and I need to join the 5 a.m. Writers organization, a group that you told me about.
It's just a Twitter. It's a Twitter trend, I guess.
Okay, well, it's probably something I need to join. Anyway, I'm studying social capital, and social capital is, in close personal relationships, primarily from a business standpoint, not personal standpoint necessarily, but a business standpoint. And I developed the 10 co's. And I've got 10 co-words, and 3 of the co-words are the same C words as you: confidence, commitment, and courage. I've got 7 more. And so probably mine won't be as memorable as your 3, because they say you've got to have either 3 or 7 or something like that. But I got 10. I add in communication and connection, and confidence, and compassion, and coincidence, and competition, and a few more. So it's
oh, I love it. I love it. That's really cool.
I'll have to send you a link to my TED Talk, TEDx talk, not a TED Talk,
absolutely,
but
please.
on that, and figure out how you can motivate me to write it, because my passion has always wanted to be that I wanted to try to educate, to speak, to write, to get some of the ideas that I've got out to a broader audience, and to try to have some positive impact. But life, mortgages, kids, ex-wives, etc., they all take time and money, and you get caught up in life, and don't get to achieve those. So how did you get the courage to leave a relationship that it sounds like you were in for a while, that produced more than 2 children at least? How'd you get that courage?
I think you have to go within yourself. You have to reflect. That feeling of being dissatisfied or unhappy is actually a huge opportunity to go in and look at, why am I unhappy? Why am I dissatisfied? So if this isn't what I want, what do I want? So you kind of flip it around, and you're able to look and see where you want to go, where you want to be, who you want to be. And then you figure out, like your C's, right? Like coincidence. I love that. Compassion, communication. These are all the things that if you give them to yourself, I'm going to say unbury a better version of yourself.
You unbury a better version of yourself, so that better version of yourself was always there. You just, as you said, you forgot about that potential. So a lot of people don't want to admit when a relationship is not working, a marriage isn't working, that they're embarrassed because of cultural or family or just community, pressure to stay together and make it work, and that people think, oh, you guys look so happy and stuff like that. How do you actually come to that decision? Was it your mom? Was it your grandmother? Was it a girlfriend? Was it a therapist? Was it just you sitting down and thinking? How do you actually come to that conclusion that Mr. What Was I Thinking was not the right guy for you?
So actually, this is a story. So there was one night when I was reading, actually coincidentally, I was reading a book called A Woman of Substance by Barbara Taylor Bradford. So it's a novel. And it's about a young girl who she's born as a maid's daughter. And in the end, she's like the owner of, a huge organization, regardless. So I'm sitting there, I'm reading this book, and I can hear Mr. What Was I Thinking snapping. He's walking around the house snapping. And that was my cue, oh, he's planning to go out. And our youngest was a baby, like a few months old at the time. And he asks me, he snaps over and he says, I need $20 to get into the club tonight. So I was the only one working. And I told him, it's the last $20, my last $20. I have to get baby formula tomorrow for the baby. And, he's all, please, I'll borrow it off someone else and I'll give it back to you tomorrow, whatever. So I gave it to him. And then he goes in the shower. And while he's in the shower, his friend Glenn calls, answers the phone. And that's who he's going out with. And I'm still friends with Glenn today, actually. And so I start chatting him up and I said, so it costs $20 to get into the club tonight. And he goes, oh no, it's my dad's gig. We get in for free. And I'm thinking, oh, you mofo, you just lied to me again. So he leaves and I'm
with the $20
with the $20, and I'm fuming because I'm thinking he just lied to me again. I told him I needed this money for the baby, for our baby. So that's when I had like an epiphany. I took everything he owned, threw it on the front lawn. You like watching TV. And for years after that, I didn't have a TV because I was just so turned off, because that's all he did was watch TV on the front lawn, every single thing on the front lawn. And that was when I realized, you know what, I'm just going downhill with him. That's what's happening here. I have to build myself back up. So that's what I'm going to say. It wasn't really the day that I got the courage to leave, but it was the day that I realized that it was him or me being miserable with him for the rest of my life, or me doing something about it and getting out of this really crappy one-sided relationship.
So you weren't married that long?
4 years.
And you've been single for a while thereafter?
Yes. Oh yeah. For about 8 years after that, I was single. Well, I didn't have babysitters. I couldn't afford a babysitter. Once in a while, my mom would babysit the kids and I might, have a date, whatever. But in those days, who wants to date a young woman with 2 young kids, right? I was 24, actually, when we broke up.
So have you remarried, or would you remarry?
I'm in the best relationship of my life right now. It took me a long, a few frogs to go through, but yes, absolutely. We're not going to get married, but we are definitely like a married couple for sure. Absolutely.
Why are you not going to get married?
What's the point? I don't know. It's just, to me, it's like, we're going to live together. We're like married. I don't know. We're happy.
Well, that's great. Congratulations. I got to ask you, after you did this sort of tell-all book, is the new guy worried that you might write about him in a derogatory book if things don't work out?
Oh my gosh, no. Well, again, it's not a man-bashing book whatsoever. I share my experiences and the experiences of other women. He's my biggest supporter. Everybody kind of has days where they're like, oh my God, I wrote this column, I sent it to the editor and he hasn't responded yet. He hates it. Oh my God. And he's always like, Mona, he's going to love it. Like, but I don't know. And then I get the email saying, oh my God, this is fantastic. It'll be up, tomorrow, whatever. So he's my biggest supporter. And he knows I'm not the type of person who's vindictive or anything. I have nothing bad to say about him, would never have anything bad to say about him.
How'd you meet him?
So we went to high school together. So of course, Facebook, and I was 2013. He's a widower, unfortunately. He had reached out to me. He was happily married. He reached out to me to say, hey, Mona, I keep the hamster fed. You make me laugh. So that was that. And then we ran into each other a few years later after his wife passed away.
Keep the hamster fed. What's that mean?
Oh, I talk about the hamster a lot. The hamster keeps me up at night, wake up at night, the hamster go to sleep, let me sleep. And I have to get up and, write and make notes about what the hamster's thinking. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Sounds like an interesting relationship and interesting story. So finding your passion late in life, it sounds like maybe leaving Mr. What was I thinking was critically important. It sounds like potentially this new relationship and having a big supporter was important. What else?
That's an open-ended question. Keep writing, keep dancing, keep doing what you love to do.
But how do you find out what you love to do? So many people wonder and talk to me
Yes.
and ask, how do I find my passion? How do I find what it is I'm good at? How do I find what I love to do?
Yep, absolutely. So you listen to yourself. What makes you happy? Again, like if you wake up in the morning and you go, oh, I'm gonna weed the garden today, and that gets you excited, there's part of your calling right there. Do the things that make you happy. Oh, you wake up in the morning and you think, oh, I'm gonna organize the closet. And if that makes you happy, that's just take it from there. Take it from there. And again, it could be painting, it could be numbers. My math is broken. I'll never be a math person. But for some people, they love working with numbers. There's part of your calling right there.
We're chatting tonight with Mona Andrei, author of a fun book about single motherhood called Superwoman. We're going to take a break and come back with some concluding comments in just 2 minutes. Stay with us, everybody. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. We're chatting tonight with Mona Andrei, who is the author of a book about single motherhood, and it's called Superwoman. What is it? Funny and
A funny and reflective look at single motherhood.
A funny and reflective look at single motherhood. And she's told us about finding your passion at whatever age you are. And 3 years ago, she started hip hop dancing, and she's been in some competitions. And in the latest competition, she actually won. She's told us about being a prom queen that turns into a zombie, and the different music that she got to sing, and how that's motivated her 24-year-old tall son to get into hip hop. She's told us stories about Mr. What Was I Thinking? And those were funny. And she assures us it's not a man bashing book, but I'm going to have to read it because it sounds to me like it's a little bit of man bashing. So I'm going to have to read it to find out whether it truly is. And she told us some funny stories. And Mona, you said that you had a funny story about the first date after you were single, again, after marriage. Tell us that story if you could.
So once upon a long time ago, I was in radio and I was in sales, and I would get, clients to advertise on the radio station, Shom FM at the time here in Montreal. And one of my clients, he owned so this is pre-online dating. It was a phone dating thing. So I didn't have a lot of money to go out or do anything. So, and I'm the type of person, this is my client, I want to get to know his business. So I'm on the phone and I'm make myself a little profile because I want to understand how this telephone dating thing works. So now I'm, listening to all these voices. It's like going through a man catalog actually, and whatever. So then one of the voices was sort of it wasn't really his voice, it was his profile was sort of interesting. He liked to do, things that I like to do, go for walks, whatever. And so we chat and we decide that we're going to meet for coffee one day. And when I meet him, so first of all, when we were talking on the phone, every time he said an S word, there was a bit of a whistle, like a shriek, sounds sweet, but I can't even mimic him. And when we met, he had no front teeth. so it was like, I should have, I should have gotten a clue, but yeah. And not that I have anything against people with no front teeth. My kids didn't have any front teeth either at one point. So, but just, yeah, it was just a little shocking and off.
So he didn't make the cut because he didn't have front teeth? My gosh.
Well, there was a whole bunch of other things too. It just, you meet somebody on the phone and you think you're going to connect and you think this is going to be wonderful. And then you realize that, no, there's really, you don't have that much in common after all. So that was the end of my quote unquote telephone dating career, but I got him on the radio.
How many frogs did you have to go through before you met your prince?
I'm not that many. I'm going to say 3, maybe.
Oh, that's not that bad at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm friends with everybody still, just didn't work out in that. department.
Are you friends with your Mr. What was I thinking?
He moved away. The girls were still very young. He moved out west, and nope, no contact, no desire. I mean, he didn't help us. He didn't help us financially. He didn't help us, in any parenting aspect whatsoever. So
Really? So your
no,
children don't have a relationship with their father?
nope.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame, but it's hey, he did that, right? I didn't do that. They didn't do that. He did that.
What you told me that people can follow your blog tour or something. What's that about?
So yes, so Superwoman is on a virtual book tour this month, starting on Monday, actually the 8th, until throughout the month. So there's 23 stops. The dates, I'm going to put them on my blog. I haven't put them there yet, but you can go to ireadbooktours.com to check out the dates, or you can wait till I put it on the blog, which is moxie, MOXIE-DUDE.com. I'll put the dates and the links on there.
And what's the benefit of participating in a blog tour?
You get to find out, do I want to read this book? You mean for readers or for myself?
For the readers.
Yeah, you get to find out more about the book. You get to, you get to read the little blurb and reviews, things like that. So it just gives you an opportunity to see, is this a book I want to read, or is this a book I don't want to read?
And here's some more stories.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And remind us what the 3 C's are.
Courage, confidence, commitment.
Courage, confidence, and commitment is what got you through a bad marriage and leaving leaving that marriage and starting anew and finding your passion. Sounds like fantastic lessons for everybody. Thank you, Mona, for joining us tonight. I look forward to reading Superwoman.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
That's our show for tonight. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining. I remind you, I'm on every Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock on 960 AM. You can stream me online, even from Montreal, at www.saga960am.ca. Good night, everybody. Have a great time.